I'd like to call the meeting of the Dover School Committee for June 8th, 2021 to order. It's 5:31. This is an open meeting being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12th, 2020. Information on how to join remote school committee meetings and meeting agendas is posted on the Dover-Sherburne District website. Please note that this meeting is being recorded, and please be aware that anything you broadcast may be captured by the recording. So each year at this time, we reorganize the committee after the elections have passed. And so with that, we need a chairperson. So I would entertain nominations for a chair. Leslie?
I would like to nominate Sarah Gutierrez-Dunn.
Sarah Gutierrez-Dunn has been nominated. Is there a second?
I would like to second that.
Mark, thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, I will poll you as I see you on my screen. Mark Healy?
Mark Healy, yes.
Colleen?
Colleen Burt, yes.
Leslie?
Leslie Leon, yes.
And Sarah, you get to vote.
Sarah Gutierrez-Dunn, yes.
Great. If you voted for yourself, that means you have to accept it. So with that, I will pass the fictitious baton to you, Sarah.
Great. Well, thanks. And I want to thank both Brooke Matarese and Leslie Leon for their leadership as chairs this year. They leave a hard act to follow, but I'm honored to serve and so grateful to be working alongside such wonderful colleagues on our committee. So the next order of business is the election of secretary for the Dover School Committee, because I have been serving in that position. And I would actually like to nominate Leslie Leon for that role. Is there a second?
Second.
Thanks, Colleen. Any discussion? All right, hearing none, we'll take a roll call vote. If the members would take themselves off mute. Colleen?
Colleen Burt, yes.
Liz? Oh, sorry, Liz is not here. Mark?
Mark Healy, yes.
Sarah Gutierrez-Dunn, yes. And Leslie?
Leslie Leon, yes.
Thank you, Leslie. So next on our agenda this evening is community comments. Please remember that community comments are an opportunity for us to listen to the members of the community. It's not a forum for answering questions or engaging in a debate. We respectfully request that you please make your comments brief and that you move the discussion forward by adding new information. Once the public comment section of the meeting has been concluded, we will move on to other business, and unsolicited comments from the community will no longer be permitted. Do we have any community comments this evening? If anyone would like to make a comment, you can feel free to raise your hand via Zoom or even just virtually, and we'll keep a lookout if someone could help me scout the crowd for anyone raising their hand. I'm not seeing anything.
Neither am I.
All right. In that event, hearing none, we will move on to the next agenda item, which is a presentation by the incoming president of the Dover PTO. Goalie?
Hi, I'm going to share my screen. All right. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Sure. All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Goalie Seper. I will be serving as PTO president this upcoming year. Thank you all for your time. And also I wanted to thank all of you for all the hard work over the past year. I would start with a quick review of what happened past year from PTO point of view. As you all know, PTO plays role in three major parts. We try to support our faculties and teacher and staff. PTO play an important role in curriculum enrichment programs, and also PTO tries to bring community together by holding community events. This year, we were able to provide $13,000 in grant for classroom and teacher support. I will go into details of how this money was spent shortly. And we spent $8,000, a little bit over $8,000 in discretionary funds. This is basically a reimbursement that we provide for our teachers and specialists up to $250 each year for the items and supply they purchase for their classrooms. And also we were able to show our appreciation for teacher and staff by monthly appreciation deliveries, such as coffee hours, grab and go snacks, and also an ice cream truck in the spring. For curriculum enrichment program, at the beginning of the year, we were not sure how we are able to roll out these programs, but I'm pleased to announce that we were able to hold 23 programs throughout the year, including authors visits, musical experiences, and community workers visits. In terms of community events, unfortunately, some of the events were canceled, but we were still able to have some of our events in different platforms, virtual events and online, that I would go into details shortly. So this slide shows the breakdown of how that $13,000 grant was spent for teacher and classroom support. We were able to buy 5 portable whiteboards. As you can see here, the teachers were able to use those whiteboards for outdoor classrooms, and whenever it was needed. We were able to purchase 37 document readers that were also used for virtual classrooms and virtual lessons. We were able to purchase 6 outdoor benches for outdoor lunches and outdoor activities, 15 yoga mats, again used for outdoor activities. And we were also able to supply some of the classroom library books and also some Clorox wipes. Typically, in a typical year, this grant is approximately $5,000, but this year there was the need and we had to step up, and also we were lucky to have the DSEF grant for $5,000 to help us to support our children, our classroom and teachers even more this year. In terms of curriculum enrichment program, this slide shows all the different programs provided based on different grades. And the programs in a typical year, these are the programs that are run. And the programs in blue are the programs that we were able to hold this year. And we were able to actually have them. The ones in red were the programs that were unfortunately canceled, and we were not able to have them this year. But as you can see, we were able to have a lot of them, 23 programs. Most of them were transformed into virtual programs, but we were able to have some in-person programs, such as firefighters and police officers visit for pre-K, Audubon, Nature Walk, and Barn Babies, but the rest were mainly on virtual platform. Our curriculum enrichment chairs are in contact with our teachers to plan for next year, and we are hoping to have all of our programs back and hopefully in person. Our community events were changed, like a lot of other events throughout the year everywhere. But we were able to still connect with each other and have some events. We had our bingo night virtual. Our Books from the Heart happened this year, but instead of children going physically and pick up the books, we had online option of teachers picking up the books with the kids that the book was dedicated to them by that kid in their mind. So we were still able to have it in a different platform. Science Fair was changed into Science Month, so we were able to have a lot of activity throughout the month, but the major and main event was the Egg Drop Challenge, and it was a big hit. Kids were really excited about it. They were planning their contraptions, and they had the Padlet to post their plans, their videos, and they got really excited about it. And then they got to put it in test in person at school, which was a big success. Our Bike Safety Day happened this year in person. We were lucky that this was an outdoor event, and it was towards the end of the year, so we were able to have it outdoors. Our family directory was transformed online. This was not due to COVID. We used to have actual hard copy family directory, but we decided that this is a better way of having the family directory, and we received a lot of good feedback about it. Our second spelling bee also happened on a virtual platform. Community outreach programs which are a really important part of PTO, helped us actually throughout this year to keep us closer and connected with each other. Chickering Cares program, which is basically a program based on a program that was called Make a Difference Club, and was limited to 4th and 5th grades. Now it's expanded throughout all the grades, and to show our children that they can make a difference all together. And the name has changed to Chickering Cares. Through this program, we were able to do food drive to benefit A Place to Turn. We were able to do soft goods drive to benefit Family Promise. And a very nice initiative was Healthcare Heroes Appreciation. That was through this program. Children wrote beautiful, heartwarming letters. They made beautiful thank you cards for the healthcare workers, and they made a beautiful display in the lobby of Chickering, and a picture of the display with a beautiful email was sent to the healthcare workers in the community. We received a lot of nice feedback from everyone appreciating the notes. This is a picture. There are more, but this was just a snapshot of it. Another initiative that happened over this year is Chickering Grows. This happened right after a pandemic because the children were not able to do the gardening right after the COVID together in the Chickering garden. This initiative started. Seasonal vegetables and plants kits were offered throughout the year. Participants were signing up, picking up the kits, growing their flowers, their plants, and they were able to share these as they were growing them through Padlet and connect with each other. We got a lot of good feedback about this program, and with the money raised from this program, and also with, in addition, we received a grant from Dover Cultural Council. So we decided it's a good opportunity to give back with this program, and we decided on a project called the Birdhouse Project. So we purchased birdhouses, and families are signed up to get these, to receive these birdhouses, and they can decorate it over summer and put it out around the town. So I'm sure you will see some of them around. We have 180 people signed up for these birdhouses. So in terms of fundraising, when we started this year, we were not sure how much we were able to raise money. It was a lot of unexpected and unknown was ahead of us, so we were not sure, but we had a very successful fundraising year. For our check writing campaign, our net income was $52,921. We made some money from the sales from directories, approximately $2,368. We had sales of masks with BRDS logo on it, and also some Chickering gears. We made $1,408 from those sales. Through Amazon Smile, we were able to raise $731, and our advertisement on our website, $250. Brooks from the Heart made us a little bit over $1,000. This is a comparison of our projected budget versus our actual budget. So when we were planning and projecting our budget, we were conservative because we were not sure how much we can raise. Our projected income was approximately $50,550, but our actual income is $76,717. We were planning for, in terms of expenses, we planned for a full activity year. That's why our expenses were high, $84,956. But our actual expenses are $63,060. And I will go further into details of the expenses. So that brought our net operating income to over $13,000 versus our projected, which was minus $34,406. This is the net projected net from check writing campaign that we were expecting $33,500, but we raised over $52,000. This is the breakdown of our expense allocation. Usually the curriculum enrichment program takes the majority of our budget. We were expecting $38,221, but we spent $15,000, and this is because most of the programs were virtual, so the cost was less. Our teacher support, we were expecting $23,550, but actual budget, expenditure was higher, $25,289. Chickering events, we were expecting $9,200, but since we had some cancellation in our events, we had less cost in that. For Chickering outreach, we were expecting $5,935. We spent $8,392. So for planning for next year, we are planning for a regular school year, and we are planning for full years of activities, and then we will decide on a rolling basis whether to hold them or not based on the guidelines. This will help us to operate easier because if we have the budget, we don't need to vote for it every time. But if it's not budgeted, an activity or a program is not budgeted every time, we need to vote for it. So we thought we're going to plan for a full years of activity and then go from there based on the guidelines. This upcoming year is going to be our auction year. We are hoping that we are able to do an in-person auction, but if guidelines doesn't allow us to do it, I think this year taught all of us to be flexible and creative. So I'm sure we will find a way to have the auction in another form. We are expecting to have income of $89,250. Our expenses are expected to be $104,000. That brings our net operating income to minus $15,406. The allocation of expenses, again, our CE program is the main cost, which is $40,221. Then is classroom and teacher support, $23,550. Chickering events, $8,700. Chickering community outreach, $4,135. And expenses for auction, which is usually high, we are expecting to be $21,000. The reason that our outreach expense is lower is because we usually, the MFA program, it used to be part of this budget, but now we change it to our curriculum enrichment program. So we added that cost to the CE program, basically. And also one other thing on the budget, we are expecting to have $120,000 in our reserve by the end of the fiscal year. This is the board members for 21-22. We had our open meeting this morning and we got votes. And I would like to open for questions and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much, Goalie. It's really remarkable to see what the PTO was able to accomplish in this most unusual of years. We're always grateful for everything that the PTO does for Chickering students, families, and teachers. But I mean, to have gone above and beyond this year without skipping a beat is just phenomenal. So thank you to you, to the other members of the board, to our outgoing presidents, Ami and Ellie, and to everyone who volunteered for these programs. Are there any questions or comments from school committee members? Colleen?
Thank you. And Goalie, thank you for all of your hard work this year. I know it has been a full-time job, but you have enriched our community so much this year, you and the team. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Against all odds. I have to say that personally in our house, the spelling bee and the egg drop challenge were really great. And I thought you guys did a really nice job organizing sort of the process, the scientific process from afar. It really did work. And I loved watching the video of all the eggs dropped. It was amazing. They got so excited. It was really an exciting video, actually. I'm wondering about Ms. Pelletier, if there is a plan for her outgoing appreciation. And I also have another question about masks and gear. That was another really successful thing that I've had people ask me about throughout the district. Like, oh, where can I get those? Where can I get the Chickering sweatshirt? Where can I get those masks? So I'm curious if that will be ongoing.
Yes, we are definitely thinking about bringing back the masks and also the gears. We are thinking of, because last year we had the masks right at the beginning of the year, and then the gears around holidays. We were thinking of bringing both back right at the beginning of the school year. When the kids are coming back to school, they can have their attires and also masks if needed. Yeah. And then in terms of Mrs. Pelletier, we had a very nice program that we made a beautiful artwork throughout all the classrooms and was shared with her.
She hasn't seen it yet.
Oh, she hasn't seen it yet.
Nope, it's in my cause. Yes, she'll be getting it very soon.
Yeah.
So thank you. Yes.
Great. I had one more question, and it's if any of these curriculum outreach, I'm just curious, any of the virtual programs worked better in that format? I know the visiting author was able to come in frequently throughout my daughter's class. I'm wondering if any of these programs you would consider returning virtually. Some of them may have been more successful than others.
So our curriculum enrichment chairs are discussing this with our teachers to see if the virtual platform worked. So they were collecting comments and feedback from them and planning according to their comments, basically.
Thank you.
Sure. Thank you.
Any other school committee members with questions or comments? All right, well, thank you so much, Goalie, and best of luck next year. I think we are all rooting for return to normalcy for the PTO and everything else.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Goalie.
Next on the agenda, we have the principal's report with Dr. Reineman.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you. Thank you, Goalie. And I would be remiss if I didn't also thank the PTO for all of the support this year. We would not have made it through as beautifully as we did. People have said it was due to Jim and I really don't think that we get all the credit at all for doing this. It was because of the PTO support, our teachers who worked with us so carefully to set up a building that we could all function in safely, the staff members who did as well, and the families who adhered to our expectations for health and safety. So thank you to all of you for that. Special thank you to the PTO for the 5th grade party this afternoon. It was a toasty roasty event, but a fantastic success. We had an ice cream truck and a DJ and dancing and prizes, and it was a great time. And the rain started after they all left, so thank goodness. So we had a great day with that. My principal's report is included in here, and I see that the school improvement plan and the handbook are coming up later on in the agenda, so I'll skip over those for now. We are wrapping the year up and grateful to see the end in sight, and looking forward to setting up for what we also hope will be a nearly normal year next year. The one piece there's a number of pieces we're not sure about. Masks, for example, what lunch will look like, but I think a lot of things will be as close to normal or back to pre-COVID as possible. So I'm happy to entertain any questions if you have them.
Committee members would like to raise their hands if anyone has questions for Deb. Colleen?
Yes, I'm wondering about the buses, if we've received guidance on how the spacing on the buses will work out for the fall, if we're returning to normal seating, whether masked or not, and therefore decreasing our transportation costs.
I'm going to pass that one right to Dawn.
So I think it's a little early. DESE will start probably providing us with updated fall protocols, I would say late July, early August. But based on where we are with the buses right now, we're basically at regular seating. I think the issue is going to be whether or not we're wearing masks or not on the buses. So we hope everyone can go back and feel comfortable riding in the buses, and hopefully divert some of the traffic issues that we've had at all the schools. So we are planning on doing regular bus routes next year. We're actually starting that rolling process right now and getting that started. So I would expect that we won't be asking for any volunteers not to ride the bus. We will have everyone on the buses. So that will be a welcome change, I think, for traffic purposes.
And if I could add, Don, the commissioner has indicated that they really want school to be back to as normal as possible, right. Including no more remote option, all in person. So that's the latest that all school leaders have been told by the state. Of course, it's all subject to change, right? We learned that this year, mm-hmm. But we think that we're going to be pretty close to normal. I do think the question of masks is going to come up because of the younger kids and whether or not they're vaccinated. So it's a wait and see, and I'm sure the incoming superintendent will be getting those same kinds of communications that I was, and there'll be some planning that has to take place this summer. I think the good news is that it won't be nearly as dramatic as what we went through last year.
Other questions or comments from committee members? All right, hearing none. Next up, thank you, Deb, by the way. Next up is the warrant report. Dawn, is there anything you'd like to draw our attention to here?
No, it's just we didn't meet too long ago, so it's a short summary of warrants that Mark again so graciously goes and signs for us every month. So again, if there's any questions, we have copies here, but Town Halls also will provide you access if you want to see the detail.
Great, thank you. And shall we move right on to the monthly report, unless there are questions from the committee on the warrant report? All right, Don, why don't you go ahead?
So I think, given again that we met just a couple of weeks ago, your status of appropriations is really, there has no change from the May 10th. So I included that in your packet with the same narrative. I will notice as I'm sitting here that I gave you a financial statement in your June packet that is void of 2 adjustments that I made. So I'm going to switch that out online. So I'll do that when Cheryl shows up tomorrow. It was basically the biggest part was that, you recall, I told you Accept Collaborative gave us a reimbursement for the transportation they couldn't provide. And I made that at the last minute, and I grabbed the wrong statement when I did this month's packet. But other than that, what I wanted to focus on is some information about fiscal year 22. Before we talk about enrollment, I'll do the easy one first. One of my favorite days of the year, and I don't know why, is the tech oil bid opening. Because it's always interesting to see how that's going to go. If you remember last year, it was a great bid opening. It came in at $1.43 a gallon. So I think we were all sitting on the edge of our chairs to see what the oil price was going to be this year. And there was a substantial increase. We're at $2.15 for next year, knowing though that we budget conservatively at a price level a little bit higher than that. So again, you have large variances this year in your heating oil line item will probably be closer to budget this coming year based on the pricing. But that's one of the critical pieces that sort of at least just has an impact on your energy use for heat. The other big piece of information that we're sharing, and we included a more details in it, is on enrollment. So, we pride ourselves in sort of our projection models that we have, but some years surprises do happen. And I think one of the biggest surprises that happened this year is in kindergarten. So, we had a census of 54. We had sent letters out in February of about 58. We're hitting about 73 right now. So that's a much larger increase than we anticipated, right? So obviously, we needed to worry about how to accommodate that increase in students. But on the flip side, the first grade in our projections was going to grow a little bit. It really is not growing. So we're going to be able to take a section that we budgeted in first grade and put it into kindergarten, which solves that problem for us. Two of the other grades just crept over the number to have 4 sections. So that number is 88. If you look at second grade and fifth grade, they're around 90, 91 right now. So we had one section to play around with. So obviously we can cover second grade or we can cover fifth grade. But to cover both, it looks like we potentially will add a classroom section next year. So we're going to wait just to see how the numbers hold, see if they do hold, because I think one of the things that we may not have fully accounted for right now is our out migration. Families may not have told us yet that they're going to be leaving. But we know we're also going to have potential new families still moving in. I think we all know in Dover that the real estate market is still very active. So we'll see how that all pans out. The good news is that the way we ended the year with some of our grant money, we have capacity to move some of our educational assistance from the general fund over to a grant, which frees up money for us to be able to cover the additional educator when we add that. So we will not need to go to the town and ask for additional funds for our budget. We'll have enough to cover for next year. If those numbers hold for fiscal year 23 and we need to permanently add that teacher, then that's when we'll add it to our budget and go from there to look for the increased funding. So what we included for you was sort of an update to the projection chart that I typically add for you. And we did a little table as of May or as of June 1st. And I think the key thing that I wanted to show is if kindergarten numbers, so I showed you sort of the increase without kindergarten, which was like 456 students would be our projection number. If you look, we're pretty close to our projections. So I don't lose credibility with our projection model. It's kindergarten is the big unknown because we're dealing with census and not a stable number that we're looking at migration in, migration out. So I think that that's an important thing to do. You pull the kindergarten out, we don't look too bad. There's always going to be those cases where we just tip ourselves over to needing that extra section, and that's where we find ourselves now. So we'll continue.
Can I add something to that?
Yep.
Because it's important to note that Sherburne is encountering the same thing in terms of this real estate market is just super hot. But we've learned through the years that you can't just go based on where you are in June, because there is that outward migration as well. So we just have to monitor it. The good news is that we would be able to take care of this with the grant money, and then in subsequent years, obviously, as Don said, we would have to budget for it.
Exactly. So we will keep in close contact, obviously, with Jim and Deb, and decide probably sometime mid-July-ish or earlier where we think we stand, and we'll move forward. I think they're already sort of planning like a plan A, plan B. So we will definitely be ready to roll, by early August, knowing exactly what we're doing. So parents will be communicated with their class list, and that won't change.
So Dawn, is the expectation that we will not go over the class size limit by even 0.5, no matter what, under these, as long as, these numbers kind of stay true?
Yeah, I think because we're at the point now that you have, so fifth grade, I would say, was one that, I sort of said, we've got a class that's graduating, right? So to add a teacher in fifth grade, do we have a place where that teacher is going to be able to go the next year? Because fourth grade right now has 4. So you always want to be careful about, you don't want to be wishy-washy about adding teachers in and out, right? Because when we bring someone in, we obviously invest in them and we want them to be able to stay in the school system. But I think that, we've talked, given the circumstances with COVID and, the year that we've just had with remote, it probably makes sense to go ahead. And by adding the 5th section, you're like 18 versus 22 and 23. We have had situations, though, I will say, over time where we could have one section be one person out of compliance. So or sometimes we'll have where the sections are slightly below. Like we'll have you've seen 16 and 15. So there is some leadway, but when there's multiple sections that would be over, that's when we are very decisive and go ahead and add that staff member.
We also pay close attention to the cohorts of students. Not every grade has the same identity, and some grades, we may be less inclined to. We might be more likely to take a chance and perhaps add teaching assistants. We just think, when all is said and done, especially given the amount of movement in town, that we're probably going to need that section. But somebody could make a case. It generally is not well received by the parents based on what we've seen in the past. If we start inching up towards that upper threshold on the guidance, the guidelines, we usually hear from folks.
I think you're reading that temperature correctly. Are there questions or comments from committee members? All right. Thank you very much, Dawn, for that report. Turning to item 7 on our agenda this evening, this is the second read of the proposed changes to the 2021-2022 Chickering Family Handbook, and we will be voting on these tonight. So Deb, are there any changes here from what we reviewed at our last meeting?
No, there's been no changes to that document. Thank you.
Does anyone have questions for Dr. Reineman? All right, do I have a motion to approve the proposed changes to the handbook?
Mark Healy, so moved.
A second?
Colleen Burt, second.
Any discussion? All right, hearing none, members, please take yourselves off mute for a roll call vote. Colleen?
Colleen Burt, yes.
Mark Healy, yes.
Leslie?
Leslie Leon, yes.
And Sarah Gutierrez Dunn, yes.
Thank you.
Now on to the 2021-2022 school improvement plan. Deb, would you like to present on this for us?
Sure. So this has gone through some fleshing out since your last meeting. So at the last meeting, I described the 4 goals, which have not changed since last meeting, but it now has benchmarks and more descriptions for each of the goals. The first one continues with the finding the gems of the year. For example, one of the gems was to have the option to have parent-teacher conferences by Zoom. And how many teachers said that they got to meet dads this year, which was kind of interesting, more than they usually meet. I personally think that having school committee remote isn't a bad idea, but that may or may not be a gem that comes through. So there's things like that, as well as curriculum changes we made, a lot of our digital format. So we'll be working with our teachers to identify those. There's a survey ready to go tomorrow in the parent newsletter, looking for some parent feedback as well, which we'll incorporate as we go forward. The second goal is the implementation of Teachers College Readers Workshop, which you heard about at length at the previous school committee meeting. Thank you to Priscilla Stefan. And so we are looking to roll that out. We're getting very excited. Class starts the last week in June, right, Mr. Carnes, for Teachers College. Mr. Carnes is going to lead our group through that. So we're very excited for there. Our third goal is the equity audit and our participation in that. We don't know exactly what that's going to roll out as you look at the action items, you'll see that they look a little thin, but it's partly because we're not sure how that will roll out, but we will participate in that audit as part of the school communities. And our fourth item is our outreach to our seniors in town, where we're hoping to have more connections with some of our local heroes, some of our local senior folks, for our Dover and Boston kiddos to get to know better, build some relationships, practice public speaking skills, perhaps hear about a rotary phone, or even we were talking about bringing back the ukulele group that the seniors could play with the kids. So there's the overview. Do you have any questions for me?
Anyone with questions or comments? Leslie?
Hi, just, I mean, as I mentioned in the past meeting, I love the idea of reaching out to the elderly portion of the community. I did this as a child, and one of the things we did was we were assigned someone to interview and kind of write their life story. So I just want to throw that out there. I mean, I know my kids love to write, and I think it'd be pretty cool to hear the story of someone. I mean, there could be heroes out there, right, that we're not aware of. Just throwing that idea out there.
That's a great idea. Thank you. Thank you. I also want to thank my school advisory council for all of their work in helping to get this ironed out in the last couple of weeks. So kudos, and Colleen, thank you for your representation there.
Absolutely. It looks great. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments for Dr. Reineman on the school improvement plan? All right, do I have a motion to approve the school improvement plan?
So moved.
Colleen, thank you. A second? Leslie?
Second, Julianne?
Thank you. Any discussion? All right, could members please take yourself off of mute for a roll call vote? Colleen?
Colleen Burt, yes.
Leslie?
Leslie Leon, yes.
Mark?
Mark Healy, yes.
And Sarah Gutierrez Dunn, yes. All right. So lastly, and as an FYI for the members, we have included the Sherburne School Committee meeting minutes from March 9th, 2021 in the consent agenda. And we have also included a list of the subcommittee assignments for the Dover School Committee this last year. So I think the way that this process works is that we should all give some thought to where we'd like to serve for 2021, 2022. And then shall members just, email me with their interest, and we'll kind of make some decisions certainly before the fall. Does that sound like a plan?
That's the right approach, Sarah. But the consent agenda for the May 17th school committee meeting minutes, that needs to be voted.
Mm-hmm.
But otherwise, those communications, yeah, those are all FYIs, and we usually don't do the subcommittees until the fall.
Okay. All right. So do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Leslie?
Leslie Leon, so moved.
Second?
Colleen Burt.
Thanks, Colleen. Any discussion? All right, we'll take a roll call vote. Colleen?
Colleen Burt, yes.
Mark?
Mark Healy, yes.
Leslie?
Leslie Leon, yes.
And Sarah Gutierrez Dunn, yes.
Sarah, real quick before we finish up here, I do want to mention maybe we all get together in the next meeting or at some point to divide subcommittees. 'Cause that's how we've done it in the past. I mean, I think we have to think through how we're going to do that a little bit.
Sure. Makes sense. Well, we can certainly post something and discuss amongst ourselves too.
Yeah, you don't need a post. So I mean, having been a former chair, we usually just got people's preferences, and then you always want to have. There's certain things you want to have a mix of people, but you can work that out on your own. That's not really discussing. You're not deliberating. You're not deliberating.
So we
It's
can email
administrative.
back and forth, and it's not considered violation of the law.
Just keep it all about the assignments. It's just administrative work that you're doing.
Okay, great.
Thank you for that. All right. Well, I think that completes our agenda for this evening. Thanks everyone for an efficient meeting this evening and your continued work for all of the students at Chickering. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Colleen?
Colleen Britt, so moved.
Second?
Mark Healy seconded.
All right, shall we all do a raise of our hands? All right, all in favor?
Yes.
Thanks. I think we're adjourned.